Hello and welcome to episode 82, I think, of the No Excuses podcast. My name's Anne and I live in Worcestershire in the middle of England with my husband Tom, and today is Sunday the 7th of July. It's a day to be celebrated apparently because it's 9 years ago today that I left work. Now the building I worked in for a lot of my career with the county council, is now shut because, first of all, apparently they had that bubbling concrete problem, or they could have had, because it was built at the right time for it to have that possibly, and then they found Legionella. So they've had to empty a big building. It was built to house both Herefordshire and Worcestershire county councils when they merged in the mid-70s. It's a big building and now it's shut. And I think it was half empty anyway after COVID, and with all this working from home, etc, it's not the same, it's not being used in the same way anymore. So yeah, interesting, isn't it, how things progress? They fall apart when you leave. Anyway, I've gone off on a tangent already, so welcome. It's been 3 weeks since I last recorded, and that's mainly because last week has been a very busy week, and I was a bit concerned that I was going to be afterwards. But I'm not too bad actually, I'm not too bad at all. The camera is at quite an angle, so if you're having to tilt your head slightly to watch me, especially on a big screen, I apologise. I've fiddled with it, but it's not playing ball today, so it's not you, it's me, as they say. How are you doing? Are you okay? I've heard from quite a few of you, and people are entering the make-alongs, which we'll talk about first. The craft more in 24, something you don't normally do, a different craft to, if you're mainly a knitter or crocheter, a different craft to that. And which could be anything. For me, it's about to become quilting because I'm ready finally to start on my quilting adventure. I don't call it a journey because I don't know how far I'm going to get. Might get to the first service station and run out of steam, but I'm not expecting that. We'll talk about that in a minute. Craft more in 24 on Ravelry. You can email me or put the hashtag on Instagram. Excuse me, I've just eaten a ham sandwich. I don't know why, but talking to you makes me burp, which is not very ladylike. But then I don't think you expect anything better from me anymore, do you? Thank goodness. The second make-along is the bigger the better, and we have a few entries over on Ravelry for that. And again, you can enter via email, or you can enter using the hashtag on Instagram, but make sure you tag me if you're entering on Instagram so I see it. The bigger the better, just to recap, is 400 grams or more, but it can be several socks or several hats, as long as they're the same item. Don't have to be the same pattern. Or a blanket that you're working on that you might not finish, but it's already more than 400 grams. Or in my case, it could be a jumper, a reasonably heavyweight jumper. I tend to get to nearly or around the 500 mark for my jumpers. They're long sleeved and they just about hit my bum. Then, because I'm wide, then I tend to use 5 skeins. So yes, please enter. It's they both close at the end of September, and I will post a prize anywhere in the world, so they're open to everyone. You will get a wonky bag and some other things. I'll just leave it at that. I'm making no promises because gradually I'm getting through all the minis that I had, and the ones that I made out of yarn that I wasn't going to use for anything else over the past few years, with the bags and the advent things I did very early on. So, but hopefully whatever you get will be a nice surprise. Right, first of all, finished item. This is the ochre cardigan, by Ambah O'Brien, a pattern. It's quite a lightweight 4-ply cardigan. I've got it on a coat hanger because you know I'm not very good at showing you things. And this is the second iteration of that lovely yellow wool that I bought, mainly from Yarnworthy, and another pack of mini skeins from somewhere else, that I'd knitted up into that great big City Limits jumper in garter stitch, which for some reason seemed to be getting heavier and bigger. Probably wasn't, probably just my imagination, but however, excuse me, I've started with the lighter colour and I've gone down to the darker colour, and I've done the same on the sleeves, and I've tried to make the sleeves the same, but they're obviously not going to be identical. What I've done is I've used 2 rows of the speckled yarn that I had from in a fade from Emma of Yarnworthy, who's no longer dying now, and a skein of, it could be Sugarcane from Attic Spin Dye, but I'll check that, and if I'm wrong I'll put it on the screen, which is a lovely pale, not a lemon yellow, it's got a bit more substance to it than a lemon yellow. It's more of a creamy yellow, and it goes perfectly with the colours that Emma had dyed. So this is merino and nylon sock yarn. It's not been blocked, it looks a bit bobbly because it is it's been reused. I didn't skein it and wash it and hang it to dry and get all the kinks out because I couldn't be bothered. But at the end here, you see first of all that it's an edge to edge type of thing. It doesn't have any, it's got a very narrow-ish button band, and it's got no buttonholes or buttons on it. So here we go, and then I'll just show you the bottom. If you look at the ochre pattern cardigan, the ochre cardigan pattern even, it's got a lace detail that I did include when I first started knitting it. It's just a fairly simple lace border, but I don't like drawing attention particularly to my belly area because it's big enough without any arrows pointing at it, because the lace was arrow shaped. And then I got Tom to measure the cardigan I was sat in at the time, or the jumper, to see how long I wanted the ochre cardigan to be, and it was already there, so I cast off with the lace pattern. When I got to the sleeves, I realised the sleeves are straight down. I wanted some shaping in the sleeves. I don't like really blousy sleeves. I have a tendency to dip them in things. So instead of doing the lace, I completely changed it up. I undid the lace and I added another 2 inches onto the bottom of where the lace had actually finished. I went a bit darker, mainly because I was running out of the lighter colour wool, and I've just done a standard cast off after doing 10 rows of 2x2 moss stitch, which is seed stitch I think in other places of the world, and I've done 8 rows of seed, I've done 1x1 moss stitch on the cuffs, and I've done 2x2 on the neckline and on the button band. I picked it all up in one go and did that. I'm glad it's finished. It didn't take me too long to knit. I've not weighed it. It needs blocking, but at the moment we've got weather that it looks beautiful outside. Excuse me. Haven't got any lights on at all today because it's quite bright outside, although the sun has gone over. It's on the top of the house at the moment, but it's going to rain in a bit again because it's going to hammer it down when it does rain, but there's no sign of it at the moment. Oh, let's wait 10 minutes, shall we? Go out with your galoshes on, whatever galoshes are. I'm sorry, I've got a frog in my throat. So that's my ochre cardigan. I'm pleased with it. think it fits. Don't know if it quite meets on me because of the bazooms, but it's not a style that's designed to be like that anyway. It's like a little summer throw on. I'm pleased with it. It's very reasonably quick knit. And we'll get on to progress next, shall we? We might even have a cast something new on. First of all, I'd like to say what I'm wearing. This is a cardigan that I knit last summer. It is in BFL DK and it's a colour called Stardust from Bobble and Badger, who are on Etsy, I think. I don't know if they've got their own website. And I finished it off with some gorgeous lime green shell buttons because it picks up the colour, the bright yellow in the wool. Now, this took me several attempts to make the right size and the design I wanted. I bought a very basic pattern from Wendy, from Wool Warehouse online. I downloaded the pattern and that is a terrible photograph of it. It's called V-neck sweater and cardigan with cable panel. It says DK but there's no pattern number on it. So, and that's when my printer was going, obviously. So what I did in the end, again, obviously I'm quite keen on moss stitch occasionally. I've done a panel of moss stitch, cable, garter, and then I did a very deep button band. I picked it up here, stocking stitch, moss stitch, and then I did 2 rows of stocking stitch, and then I finished it off with the standard cast off, and I like it. I like the way it's turned out. It fits me, and it's, I would say it was a size far too small for me in theory, but it knitted up quite well. And although I'm a loose knitter, I didn't realise it was going to turn out quite this loose. But you know, I mean, it's the middle of July. No, it's not. It's beginning of July, and we are having awful weather in Britain. We've got tomatoes on the go and potatoes. Well, we've already tipped out one of the 2 buckets of potatoes we had. But we're worried they're going to get blight because this damp weather, although it dries up fairly well afterwards, the plants won't cope with it. So we lost a few tomatoes at the end of the season last year for blight. Then you almost expect it towards the end of the season, and I'm talking about like end of September, October, not the beginning of July. Fingers crossed. So yeah, so that's my Stardust cardigan, and I wore it out the other day. I went to tenor evening. I wore it out with some navy trousers and a bright yellow t-shirt that again picks up the colour of the yellow in the cardigan, and I was quite pleased with that. I am going to knit, one of the next things I'm going to cast on is going to be using this pattern. And what I've done is I've wound up the first of the balls I've got. This is the coral, although it doesn't look very, I suppose coral comes in all different colours. Not your standard coral as in the gemstone coral, that pinky apricot-y colour. But it has got tones of that. This is DK and it's merino yak and silk, and it's from Woolly Tangle, and I bought it at Wonderwool. And I'm going to make the same cardigan. I've written hopefully enough notes to be able to make another version of this. I've looked at a few stitch patterns in my Japanese stitch books. I've got 2 actually. I've got 250 knitting stitches or panels, or I think it's just called 250 knitting stitches. And then I've got the Knitting Stitch Bible, and they're both by the same author, but they do have different things in them. There's going to be some crossover, I would have thought, but I've had a look, and I'm not sure whether I'll be casting this on before I speak to you again, but when I do, I'll show you the pictures of the stitch pattern that I've gone for. and it might not even be in the book. You know what I'm like about? I'm very poor at decision making sometimes. So yeah, so I wound one ball of that off because I was going to start another DK cardigan. In terms of progress, I am still making the I-cord with that little thing that Tom made me with the 3 latch hooks. I'm making fair progress on that. It is probably getting nearer the size of my head, and I am carrying on crocheting the little 3 round squares, granny squares. The family came here last Sunday, which I'll talk about in a minute, and it was getting a bit chilly, and Tom got the 2 mitered square blankets off from our lounge and put it round my sister and her wife, and they said how lovely they felt the blankets were. Could they have some for their new settees? And I was like, yes. I love it in mitered square. Now previously I've done 2 lots of 4-ply. I'm thinking 1 lot of DK because I've got an advent in DK coming, and I've got other things in DK which I may show you in a minute. I will show you in a minute. So I've just trying to pick up what I'm going to show you next that I've started, and it got caught in my... I'm sure everybody keeps their sellotape around their hat, pin, cushion. Are those words in the right order? This is the hat pin cushion that my mum made me, and that's my sellotape. I always know where it is. It's surprising how often you use sellotape, you know. Anyway, you may recall, I told you last time I think, that Maggie, who lives just over the big road from me, what was the main road from me, she's on a cruise at the moment, the Norwegian fjords, is it, Maggie? She's due back soon. Gave me this lovely Hambleton, BC Garner Hambleton #1, 100% wool, and it's 100 metres per 50 grams, which makes it an Aran weight. Despite what it says on Ravelry, it is not chunky. And I have decided to knit another big love. I don't often do the same pattern twice because I like to do different things, but I've cast it on. I'll put the details below of the pattern. And I made this initially in the called for yarn, which is Let Lopey, in the apricot colourway, and I love that jacket. It's quite warm, and it's, because it's Let Lopey, very, very slightly itchy for me if I'm wearing it and I've got a heavy bag, because I use crossbody bags, so they hang around my neck, and it can get a bit, you know, by the end of the day. So this is a lot softer. I don't know how it's going to wear because it's quite loosely twisted, but I'm sure it's going to be fine. So I've started at the collar at the back, and now I'm doing the shoulders, and I've just done a series of short rows, which is why it looks narrower that end than it does there. So I did the back of the collar Thursday probably, and then yesterday being Saturday, I did that. So I need to pace myself with my knitting these days, otherwise my arm stops working. So that's what I'm working on. I'm doing the biggest size, and I'm hoping it's going to be like in between season jacket for me, because it's less formal than a jacket, but it's actually as useful really for me. I actually made some notes on Ravelry, thank goodness, and it said on there that I made the armholes a lot deeper, because I think I'd read that on some other people's projects before I did the Let Lopey version, that the armholes were a bit tight, they weren't very deep, and as you know, I've said many times, I need deep armholes because of the lack of movement in my arms. So I'm going to stop gesticulating, sorry. So I'm going to make those, I'll measure my Let Lopey one, and I will try and do roughly the same thing with those, with this one. So yeah, so that's my start. And that's my progress really, because I finished the ochre, started the big love. I did get my Odette out, which I'm doing, which was one of my 12 cast-ons. Haven't touched since January. And it's a plain raglan in stocking stitch in a DK weight. So it's by Sally Norland, and she's done it in a 4-ply and a lace weight mohair, hence the DK. I'm trying to do it in the same weights, but I'm doing it in very soft stripes taken from some beautiful yarn I've had, mainly from Botanical Yarns many years ago. And I wrote some notes because the neck for the size I wanted to do was big. It looked big, and I don't like it hanging off my narrow shoulders. So I decided to modify the pattern by ending up at the same right number of stitches. The armhole seems big enough, the armhole depth seems big enough. But now I've got to make sure I understand what I've written. Because of course you understand it while you're writing it, because you've just done it. I think I know what I've done. You know, I've written 2 different things at 2 different times, and I think I've confused myself when I might be on about different aspects or rows that I'm on. We'll see. But yeah, I want to get onto that because I'm not doing very well with my 12 cast-ons. I've still got 2 shawls to do, and of course I'm itching to cast things on. Not like me to want to have more than one thing on at once. I usually like to be fairly monogamous. It's a big word, huh? So, what have you been up to? Let me know what you're knitting on, because I do like to hear. Because then you tell me right, and then I want to make the same thing. So it can be counterproductive. Right, on to the next subject. I am talking too fast. I think it's all the tea I've been drinking. I'll have a coffee when I've finished this. As you know, normally about this time of year I start talking about making project bags and that for the Stroke Association, and I can't quite decide what to do this year. I had such a beautiful positive response from you all in the last, I think it's 4 years. Well, it'll be the 3rd year since we lost Dad, and I'd done a sort of Christmas bag thing before that anyway, and then I'd started donating to the Stroke Association. So, or was I already? Because Dad had already had a stroke a few years ago. But I got a lot of fabric. I might have some more as well. I have to come here for my confessional, you know, because you understand. Not everybody does. More on incoming in a bit. But getting back to the project bags, I don't want to make you feel that you have to buy one from me, and you've been more than generous so far supporting me. So I'm just going to put the feelers out to say, would you be interested in a smaller version? Not, it won't be a smaller bag, but it will only have a little bit of wool in it, because I haven't got as many scraps I can make into minis and things anymore, and there's no point me buying minis to put in bags, because I'd have to pass the direct cost on to you, and they're quite expensive now. But if you're interested, I just get a feeler, you know. Last year I think it was about 15 bags I sold, but even if there's only 3 or 4 of you that are happy to do it, then I will do it. And I don't know whether you like a surprise, or whether you'd like me to show you, say if I made 10 bags and showed you, and you had a choice of which one to buy. I don't know. I'm just, it's not that I want it to be different every year. It's just I don't want to take advantage of your generosity, but at the same time, I don't want to start making bags if there's no call for them. And if nobody wants to buy, or only a couple of you want to buy, I do not mind. You know, we all have charities we support. You know, stop saying you know. Okay. We all have charities we support, and most of us will support something that's close to our heart, that our family or an animal charity, a certain illness, etc. And that is totally understandable. And times are tight. They are indeed tight for many, many people. So yeah, let me know if anybody's interested, and if you are, I will make some, and I'll put a package together, and what I will make for anybody who says yes, basically. And then I can formalise it a little bit more, maybe in the next podcast. I hope you understand well what I'm trying to get at. Okay, right, brace yourselves. Oh dear. Incoming. I think I need a slurp of my cold tea. I don't mind cold tea. I don't mind cold coffee. I don't know why, but I drink my drinks very slowly. Where do I start? Well, I have watched now all the 4 quilting videos that Penny from Penny's Chinwag has made, and they're excellent. Thank you, Penny. Thank you so much. I know she wrote to me right at the beginning and said, would it be of help to you and other people as well to put these videos up, and they're excellent. I've watched them. I haven't quite caught up with her ordinary videos. I'll do that this week. But I keep watching interrogation videos on YouTube, and they take hours. Sometimes I can't even understand what they're saying, but I find the human psyche fascinating. So I am behind with my podcast again. Now, on the last one I watched of the quilting, Penny's friend had bought a layer cake, and she'd made a very simple quilt from it, and it was like a lap-sized quilt, and I thought how lovely it looked. But however, before that was, I watched it, I didn't know that the layer cake was on there. I'd bought a layer cake. Now this is the person, me, you know, who went through a lot of her fabric stash a little while ago and got things out the loft. Tom got them out the loft for me, and thought, Ecker's like, when am I going to use all these? Oh look, pretty shiny thing. I'll buy it. So there is a bit of crinkling because I don't want to take it out of its package just yet, because I might not get it back in. So I've cut it, and I'm going to show you. It's upside down. This is Chic Escape from Tilda, and it's you know, good I have a presentation. I ordered some of this last year. I think I've got a couple of the it might be this green. I might end up taking photos and insert it. I would just want to show you a few of them. So you've got a 10 by 10 inch set of squares, and they are, I think there's 40 in here, something like that. Chic Escape 40. Excuse me. So I'm just going to show you a few. I hope you can see. You'll get the idea anyway. 2 of each. That's slightly different. Some of them have got big vases on them and jugs and things. So they can be the same. That's got an upside down vase. I told you it's upside down. The same design but different colourway, as you can see. I'm not trying to pick them up 2 by 2 because you'll get bored. I think I've got some of that already. I love that colourway. I think I might have that one already as well. Only a bit, but and then that's some more sort of it's not as bold as the others. So if I get another version of that, I don't get lipstick on it, do I? Pink and orange. I love pink and orange together. I hope you can see enough of these so that you can see where it's coming from. And you can look it up on the interweb about the Chic Escape and the colours in it. But I've got a few more to go. I can see myself reflected in my tablet. That's reminiscent of the willow plate pattern. I had a jumper with that pattern on, you know, and I never did it. That had been the 80s, of course. And then the last couple, and that's the same as the one before. And that's an upside down vase again. So you can see there's it's quite a big pattern. It's quite blousy, and I love it. I absolutely love it. It's a bit of a departure from my usual the usual designs I go for. I usually tend to go for Lewis and Irene cutie stuff and things. And then, although I didn't think when I first got this out, this is my backing, and this is from the same range. It's Tilda Quilt Moss, and it's from their Chambray range. So it's quilting cotton, but it's made to look like a chambray. And that, although I looked at the first one, yeah, I don't know if you can see that in, and I thought, oh, well, that doesn't go with that. And actually, when you look at some of the tinge, the leaves and things, it does look okay with most of those squares in there. Now, what Penny's friend, and I'll link it, I'll link number 1 down below. Link Penny's Chinwag channel down below in underneath the YouTube video. Penny's friend, she took a layer cake and cut them all in half and then sewed them all up again. Excuse me. Instead of them being 10-inch squares, then they were sort of 5 1/4, 5 1/2, 5-inch rectangles. You know, because you allow 1/4 of an inch each side for your hem. Then I bought some, because I'm tempted by anything anybody shows me, like a goldfish, I bought some Orifil that Penny was using on some hand stitching she did on the quilt that she finished, and beautiful. Bought some bolder colours again than I would normally go for, but actually that would sit quite nicely because there's a lot of pink and it would sit quite nicely, and there's also greens and that would sit quite nicely. I've got a couple others, but they've dropped down in the, I think there's a pale blue and a pale pink just to offset those bright colours. And I also bought, and this is from the Exeter Sewing Company, I bought some clovers. These are clover gold eye in between number 8s. Now I thought I was buying number 9s. Am I going to sew with them? I mean, am I going to get the cotton through the eye? Am I going to get these through my big fingers? I mean, I haven't got fat hands. I've got fat everything else. I haven't got fat hands, but I've got strong muscular, you know, they're square. These aren't made for anybody delicate, so maybe these might end up in a giveaway where I know somebody does hand stitching, because I'm not sure I'm going to be able to use those. Because it said the bigger the number of the needle, the smaller the number, the bigger the needle. Well, what's a 12 like then? If that's an 8. Maybe I read it wrong. What came with it, which I thought was quite interesting, was a needle ABC by Schmetz, and you can see that's Exeter, the Exeter Sewing.co.uk. And this is, did I order some Schmetz? I might have done. This is, I buy needles and I don't know where I've put them, but they're somewhere safe, so that's okay, isn't it? I've gone off on a tangent, by the way, because I haven't finished what I bought from Empress Mills yet. Needles for household sewing machines, and in here there's a guide to all the Schmetz, which is what I like to buy if I can. Sometimes I buy hemline, and they've got colour coding on them and all sorts of things, and it's really, really interesting. And I think that's a super little thing to put in there, considering I didn't buy any Schmetz needles. I'm sure I didn't, not this time. Anyway, that's what I bought from Exeter Sewing, and I bought some quilting cotton on a spool as well, some 12 weight, I think this is 40 weight for hand stitching, so it shows up a bit. I don't know what I'm talking about, by the way. I might be completely wrong in the weight that I bought. Whatever's good for machine sewing. I bought some of that, some Ochre as well, in like a grey and a greyish beigey colour that's fairly neutral. Getting back to Empress Mills, the other thing I bought was they had in, and they said it was fairly new to them, and this, I was looking for some stabiliser because I've noticed, not necessarily in my first quilt I make, but I've noticed that some quilt makers put some stabiliser beneath their quilting cotton, or if they're using something like a Tana lawn, which is even finer, a stabiliser can be useful to help take the weight of the thinner fabric up to a normal quilting cotton weight maybe. So I saw this, and it's a Visaline B700, and they think it's the world's first biodegradable adhesive. And I looked at it and I thought, well, they've sent me the wrong thing, because I can't see any glue on this, because normally you can see dots of glue. But if I close my eyes and I run my finger on one side, that's very smooth. And if I run my finger on the other side of the fabric, I can just about feel it catching. And so I think that is the side with the glue on. But it is Visaline. I think I've ordered a metre, just to try it really. And I've got the same as that. But I'm not necessarily going to put all these together. But that was my order from Empress Mills. And I need to stop buying fabric, because I bought all that stuff from Temu, which is jelly roll strips, or you're not allowed to call them that if they're not Moda, but thin strips, 2.5 inch strips, which I want to sew together and make a nice scrappy quilt. But I need to start, and I also bought some 10 inch squares off them. I think they were 10 inch, and the quality of those cottons were okay, but it might be good to put the stabiliser behind those. Maybe when I'm more practiced at applying the stabiliser. I can see lots of crinkles coming into my quilts. I've got wadding already, suitable cotton wadding, suitable for the quilt. So I'm going to have a go, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. I've got quite a week coming up. Now, the quilt I sent to you, that lovely quilt that Barbara, Bondi Crafter, sent me all the way from Australia. I'm using that every night at the moment, because it's much lighter weight when I'm watching telly at night. It's much lighter weight than the blanket. It's not as heavy as the blanket. It might not be as warm as the blanket, but it's perfect for this time of year. And I do still fall asleep under it, so there you go. So thank you, Barbara. It is in use. Are you keeping up? Now, I am going to go and get some more fabric. I shall return. My lovely mother has taken my matchy collage top. I think matchy is the company name. Collage top. Put a photograph up. Pattern, and she's cutting the top out in some navy gingham, and then I'm going to sew it. And then while she was doing that, I was thinking, well, I'm going to make a matchy collage top without Mum knowing, because they're fairly small pattern pieces that you put together, which is why it's called a collage top. Now, and I went on Pound Fabrics, possibly a mistake. I keep looking at cottons, and some of them, yes, Mum's got loads of them, and they're beautiful, and we should be using them. But I fell in love with these two prints. They're both Rose and Hobble cottons. I've washed them, but I haven't ironed them yet. So I'm going to try and show you them in my usual fashion of being inside out at the moment. That is the first one. So it's a Dixie print on a sort of a dark cream background, I'd say. It's not a beige. Little tiny flowers, and it's a nice waste cotton. I've put it into soaking the thingy for just a few minutes, spun it, and it drip dry actually on one of the warmer days that we had, and it dried in no time. And then the other one I bought 3 metres of each. They were £5 a metre. I say they're Rose and Hobble. Is this one. You see it? See enough of it? Oh, I love this. Oh, I love this. It might not suit me that well. Well, I'm wearing it. I like them both. I like them both a lot. They're quite bright, and I'm looking forward to if this top, matchy top, collage top, sorry, looks okay on me, because there's a danger it might look a bit too huge and look like I'm wearing a hot air balloon. Then I might be making blouses out of these instead. But I like this. I quite like this top. It reminds me of things I liked in the 70s and early 80s. And then we'll have a look at some. Well, I might have bought some wool. Let's just get it out there. I am going to open these in front of you. I haven't looked at them. They came yesterday. First of all, this is a lovely rainbow pride bag, and it is from James Makes Yarn, and he's in Abergavenny, not too far really. And I follow him on Instagram. I don't follow as many makers, but he does some lovely bright colours, which I wouldn't necessarily wear, but I like my pastel blanket and things. And he did a Beanie Baby colourway a little while ago, which sold out. He did it again, and although he said what day he was going to release the update, I forgot, and I was too late again. He's done it again, and I've bought 2 skeins of double knit Beanie Babies. Oh, no. Isn't that lovely? Well, I think it is. Now this is Beanie Babies. It's 100 grams, 225 metres, and it's 100% superwash merino. The Discreet Unicorn Advent I've ordered is also superwash merino DK, but I've ordered a sparkle on that one just for a bit of change. And I've also got other bright, not bright but pastel-y, come towards bright skeins that I bought from Fearless Yarns a couple of years ago, and that's her fairy dust. So putting all these, I bought 2. That's his label, and let's see what else is in here. A little tag, I think. Oh, he's advertising the fact he's going to Yarningham, which I'm not going to Yarningham. Because I don't need any more yarn. You know, I've stopped buying yarn this year. I know, Mother. Yeah, it's at the Ofcom Centre in Birmingham. Plenty of parking. I didn't find their disabled toilet very good last time I went. But, you know, maybe they've improved it in the last 4 or 5 years. I can't remember what year Penny and I went. But for me, it's a bit close to Wonderwall. I'd go to the Nottingham one in November if they ever ran that again, because it's far enough away. You know, it gives me an excuse to splurge again. Having said that, Libby, who you know is one of my favourite dyers, she had a big update on her website. She reopened her website. Libby has had a few issues. That sounds very trite, I don't mean it like that. She's had things to cope with in the last year or so, and her website was taken down and she wasn't dying, and she wasn't going to shows, etc, etc. And those who follow her, those of you who might follow her, will know what I'm talking about. Now she's up and running again, and she did a big update, and she likes orange, so similar to Ange of Yarn and Yarns. So I wanted to support her, didn't I? There we go. Thank you, Anne. I don't know if she puts it two together with me. It's the one who harangues her at yarn shows. Now, I bought 2 of one colour. Excuse me. If it's too loud, right, here we go. This is very similar to some of the other colours I've bought recently. It was wrapped nicely in purple tissue paper. Needle and thread. This is a greige with rust and different browns and greys in. It's called, I'll get to it, it's BFL sock, 75% BFL and 25%, 75% BFL, 25% nylon. And it's called Nothing. It does not have a name on it. So there you go then. It has no name. They call my name. They're not calling this name. Nice, isn't it? You see? See all the tones in it? Now, I have got other things I can mix with this, haven't I? Because I bought that nice... Anyway, you know, I can mix and match with this. I bought this because it only had subtle colouring, because I've bought the Let's Knit, her scarflet and her leaflet patterns, which I quite fancy making. So I will be doing that, sort of 2 of those. And then, I won't get them all out. I bought this because it's lovely. Oh, it sounds so boring. Look at that. Oh, you know, I really like that lovely ginger colour that I had from Emma of Yarnworthy. Well, I think I'm in love again, because this is, oh, is it going to suit me though? What if it didn't suit me? What would I do then? Oh, I love this. This is gold. It's called Gold as Brass. This has got a name on it. And it's beautiful. This is DK. Knit it up quicker. Now, do I carry on with the coral that I've wound, or do I start on this? No brainer really, I think. I love this. Now this is BFL DK, so it's 100% blue face Leicester, and I think it's superwash. But I tend to, you know, do my home knits. I love that. That would make, I think that would make a better jumper than a cardigan myself. Oh, isn't it lovely? I've got 5 of these. Oh. I don't know why I'm talking to gritted teeth. 225 metres, so the same as the James Makes Yarn. But that's merino and this is BFL. And you can tell the difference. This is still soft, but you can tell it's going to wear better for a jumper and that. So that's my incoming. I'll be back in a minute to talk about what I've been doing, apart from buying things. Well, we're nearly at the hour, well, 52 minutes, so I've not done too badly. I hope you're still with me, and please forgive my indulgences. They make me happy. As I say, 2 different hobbies. I need to slow down buying, because I look at what I've got and I'm thinking, I was looking at my Zakami Suri alpaca, and looking at the photograph of it on Ravelry, I'm thinking, what am I going to use that for? And it's beautiful. It's beautiful, you know, and these things aren't cheap. I met a lady at the bus stop the other day and she said, are you still knitting? Because she used to see me when I used to meet Penny after Penny was at work in the pub around the corner. I said, yeah, she's always got expensive, hasn't she? She said, I saw some the other day, it was £3 a ball. I was like, well, I said, some of it's really, really expensive. So I didn't tell her what I buy. So let's catch up with what we've been doing, because we've been doing special days out again. Now, this activity, it includes me, Elaine and Liz going to Merry Hill and then having a nice time. But we had some toilet-based adventures. Nothing gruesome, but we went to Merry Hill. We hadn't seen each other for quite a while because of me. I'd cancelled the previous meeting, and we had a nice day, and I wasn't too bad when I got back either. So that was on the 19th of June, so not long after I'd seen you before. Liz come to the toilet with me, and you know, even the disabled toilets aren't that big. And there's me. The toilet's just that little bit high for me. I have to sort of climb onto it, push myself up onto it. And Liz is like standing the other side of my power chair, and she backs up against the wall, I don't know why, and her bum started the hot air when she took the hand dryer off, because it was lower than it usually is in a standing up your normal toilet, with a higher up on the wall. And that made her jump and made me jump, and I was trying to put myself delicately on the loo. And then the toilet roll was right next to me. I couldn't get my hand onto those great big round thing. I could get my hand underneath it to grab the toilet roll. It was sort of stuck anyway. So Liz leant over the wheelchair, which was like at an angle, and put her hand over the sink to reach some loo roll. And the sinks are automatic, so she put her arm over the sensor, and the water shot up her arm. We thought it was funny. But she said when she went to the loo, and I know she won't want me to tell you this, but you don't know who she is, so I'm going to tell you anyway. She said when she was in the loo, she went backwards like that while she sat on the loo, and she flushed it accidentally, and it wet her bum. Honestly, you can't take us anywhere. Anyway, and then all three of us, I'd taken some clothes that I thought they might like to wear, rather than me giving them to the charity shop. And they did. They took everything. I took 5 items, I think. And we all sat in this disabled toilet together. I was so hot by the time we'd finished. I wasn't trying anything on, but I was still hot. And the other two tried a couple of things on. So that was good. But again, it was a real squash. We could have gone in the changing places, which is palatial and huge, with a bed and everything. Shower bed and everything. But I didn't want to go in there in case somebody turned up to want to use it, you know. So that was our little toilet adventure. Don't think I bought anything there, because I just bought a little bit of food, I think. And then last Sunday, my sister was 60 on the 21st of June, and we had a little do for her here at our house. Tom did the food, and that was nice. A bit cold, hence we gave them the blankets towards the end to sit on, and we had some nice food. Most of it went, and it was nice. And I put my Pelargonium scarf on, shawl thing, you know, that big wrap over my shoulders because I was getting cold. That hasn't been blocked either yet. But just for talking, because I hadn't done any of the food prep, Tom had done it all. Just talking to people, I was absolutely shattered at the end of it. And I was getting concerned then because my week of activity had started at that point, because that was on the Sunday, and then on the Monday I'd booked train tickets for me and Mum to go from Worcester Parkway to Oxford and back again. We met my friend Anna. I was at school with Anna. Anna is sort of head of the RNIB now. She's a chair of the board of trustees at the RNIB, and she's does a lot disability focused activities. She's 2 years younger than me. I met her at school in 1972, and I haven't seen her for 6 years, so it was lovely seeing her again. I could have cried. And you don't realise sometimes how much you miss somebody until you see them again. And she's had really severe breast cancer and horrible treatment to get through, and I've not been able to help her, you know, only talk to her and things. I've not been very supportive, really, because she's in Winchester. But it only took an hour each of us on the train, so we're going to do it again. We had a look round. We went straight to Westgate off the train. Our trains got in within 10 minutes of each other, which was perfect. I got treated very well. I'd booked assistance at Parkway, and we were upgraded to first class just because it was only a short train, and they didn't have any disabled carriage with a wheelchair space on in the rest of the train, but they had got one in first class, and it just meant that we had tea and coffee if we wanted to, and a snack, but I didn't want to because of the toilet situation. Actually, the toilet in first class was broken anyway, but you're trying to imagine me trying to get to the toilet on a train. Yeah, it wouldn't work. Yeah, so we went to John Lewis and we had a chat for a couple of hours. We had a cup of tea and then we had a meal. I think I just had a tuna mayo roll, and my mum and Anna had a lovely looking chicken salad there. Then we went to the covered market because Penny had told me that there was a new wool shop there. They've been open 2 years apparently. They're called the Wool Hound. And I went around the covered market because I quite liked, when I went years ago, I quite liked all the little stalls there. But it's mainly food now, which I think is a shame, but they've got to rent the space out to whoever wants to take it, haven't they? And it was full of foreign students, and I say that's a fact. They're groups of foreign youngsters with lanyards around their neck, not speaking English. I mean, they could sum it up because they said sorry to me if they got in my way and things. But you've got a covered market which has got quite narrow aisles, and you've got all these kids who are talking to each other or they're on their phones, and you're smaller than lower than their eye level a lot of the time. And it's just, I just sat there. I just let them go past me each time because I thought, I'm not going to go, run their toes over. I'm not that aggressive. I can be if I get annoyed with people, but I found that a bit. I'm getting fed up of it after a few times because it was crowded in there. To be fair, it was crowded in there, so it's difficult to get round. Still had a look, still saw some nice things, and then I went in. Mum walked Anna back towards the station, and I went into Woolhound on my own. But I didn't buy anything, and funnily enough, they had some of James Makes Yarns in there, just a couple of skeins hanging on the wall, and they had a really good range of different wools in there, including some acrylics. So I'd recommend it if you're in Oxford, because it's not as, it's right in the centre, unlike the Oxford Yarn Store, is it called, which I think is a bit further away from the centre. It might be a 10-minute walk or something, which might be fine for you. But anyway, I could get in there and I could get out, which was good. And I did say I'd come again, but there wasn't anything that grabbed me. They had 15% off quite a few wools, and they had a bit of non-superwash wool, names I'd heard of, some I hadn't. So yeah, it was well stocked, and they had some nice samples on the wall. And they also had a list, I noticed, of what each of the people were, who I think worked there, what they had in terms of whips at the moment. So it's nice, they were welcoming, and I just didn't buy anything because I knew I'd got this wool coming from Needle and Thread and James. So I got home and we weren't too bad, but by the time we got back to Parkway was shut, even though we came back nearly 2 hours earlier than the assistants I'd booked. But I got off the train no problem, and the advantage of being in first class is you get an assistant that looks after first class anyway. But no problem getting us off. Then I said to Mum, I need a wee before we get in the car. It's only like a 10-minute, 15-minute drive back to my house. I thought I'd be more comfortable. the toilets were filthy and they stank, and I need to complain about those because everything was shut. There was no staff there. The ticket desk was shut. People were still getting on and off trains. Because you've got ticket machines, haven't you, and things. And the toilets were open, but they were horrible. They had, interestingly, baby change room, and they had 2 accessible toilets for everybody to use. But the sanitary bins were overflowing, which makes it stink. Nappy bins as well, and they were just dirty. And I said to Mum, I'm not doing it, So I managed to get home all right. If you're going to listen to me, you've got to take the rough with the smooth. You've got to take all the issues about being a disabled woman of a certain age, I'm afraid. But those of you who watch me regularly know that I'm going to talk like this. And a lot of you, even if you're not physically disabled, say you have similar problems or that you've got similar aches and pains and things. And it's good to share, isn't it? Because who knows? We learn from each other, don't we, at the end of the day? Anyway, so that was Monday. Tuesday, day off. Wednesday, I got in the shower and I thought, this is it. I'm going back to bed. I went back to bed and I got up about 12:30. Did me the world of good. Then 10 of evening, Wednesday night, I drove into Worcester and then Tom came back and picked me up, but I had a marmalade split cocktail. Excuse me. Didn't have much alcohol in it, so I drove home. Had a nice evening with the girls. Got told off by them because they said, if you're coming out with us, you've got to make sure you're not doing anything else because we want to see you. And we all need to be together every now and again to bitch about things and catch up on things and support one another. Since we last met, my friend Nick's had her second hip done. My friend Jan's bought a camper van. Nikki's had a bit of hassle at work, and I have hardly been, not been very many places, but Nikki's been on holiday as well. So we all had stuff to catch up on, and I had burger at the Cosy Club. Very disappointing in their menu. It's even more limited now than it ever was. It used to be quite a good menu, and they used to change 1 or 2 dishes every now and again. But now I wanted the cheese tart thing that they did, and they've done 2 different versions of that, and I've enjoyed them both. And it wasn't even on there this time. So I had the burger, plain burger with added cheese, and that was quite nice. Didn't eat it all, of course, I never do, but I enjoyed the chips. The chips were underdone, didn't enjoy them very much. Didn't finish them. And then Thursday I slept in, and then Friday morning I tried to get on the bus. We've got a little bus that runs from opposite my house, the road opposite. Runs 3 times a day in the week and on Saturdays into Worcester and back again. Bit of a one of these that doesn't go straight down the main road. It does a convoluted thing down a local village as well, and around the back streets of the north of Worcester as well. So although it's empty virtually when I get on it here, it's full by the time it gets into Worcester bus station. Mum was coming in on the 144, which is the bus that comes from, well, it used to come from Birmingham. It used to go from Birmingham to Malvern, but she could get on that in Bromsgrove and get off because Michelle was coming. Michelle lives in Scarborough now, another school friend of mine. She was coming for her annual day out that apparently I allow her. She stayed at Cheltenham overnight and was coming up from Cheltenham on the train. So I got on, tried to get on the bus. The bus driver says, he puts the ramp out, the doors open in the middle of the bus, and this ramp comes out like that horizontally, doesn't drop. And I'm like, well, I'm in this chair, by the way. I thought I'd go in this chair, my house chair that I've got back. Did I have it back last time I saw you? Or wasn't I might have been having it back a couple of days later. Anyway, it's great. So he said, well, I'm sorry, love. He said, there's nothing I can do. He said, the ramp comes out like this because it's a London bus and all the curbs in London are high. And I thought, well, I'm not going to argue with you. I know that's not a fact, but whatever I say, it's not his fault. So I said, don't worry about it. I've got a plan B. Go home, knock on the window. Tom's like, what are you doing? I went, well, I couldn't get on the bus. So we get my usual chair that's got a hoist those of you who've seen me in it at shows and things, put that in the car, leave this here. Tom drops me in Worcester, and I say I'll catch the bus home because I might have a drink at lunchtime. Met my friend, met my mum, met my friend. We had a really nice time. Liz and Dave joined us because they're in Worcester. Dave only for a few minutes, but Liz stayed, had a meal because she was in Worcester Town City Centre anyway. So we all had a nice time. We partied at about 3 o'clock, and Mum had gone home a bit earlier, or she'd gone and had a look around some shops and then got home. So I went to get on the 144. I got on the 144 fine, but when it came to getting off, if you're in a power chair, you've got the drive wheels at the back, but the wheels that they don't steer exactly, because how it works is if you press to go right, it puts more power into the left hand wheel to turn you right, like that, or the opposite to go left. So the front wheels are a bit like supermarket wheels. This chair I'm sat in is a 6-wheeler. It's got a mid-wheel drive, but the one I go at is like a manual chair, and it's got 4 wheels, so the 2 at the back are motorised. But if you're on a slope, a camber on a pavement, or a slope going down, the front wheels will lose contact with the ground. When they hit the ground again, they can veer off, and you can end up veering off. And the thing to do is just stop pressing the button, you know, and you stop. Now, I don't know whether he hadn't lowered the bus at all, but as I came around the corner, I should have gone backwards, lesson learnt there, but I haven't had any trouble doing this for a while now. I looked at it and I said, right, I said, you're going to have to hold me because I've got no belt on. I said, do you mind? I said, just holding my shoulders. I said, because this wheelchair is going to veer off because this slope is too big. The ramp was wide. It was the whole width of the step when you get on in the bus. So I start to go towards it, and the wheelchair just goes, slams me into the side of the bus, like the door jam. The poor bus driver, I hope he had toe protectors on, I nearly ran his feet over, and I'm thrown like that. I can't then reach the controller to put myself. I need to push myself back into the chair a little bit. We're still on the slope, trying to get out of the bus, and I couldn't reach. I said, can you just press that forward so it goes onto the pavement? He didn't know what I meant, but I managed to do it in the end. I said, I don't want to hurt you, I'm so sorry. He said, are you all right? I said, I'm fine. But it really annoyed me more than upset me. I was upset a little bit, and then I got angry because I'm fed up with the chair doing this to me. But if you look at electric power chairs, they sometimes advertise what slope they're stable on, and it's something that you've got to have knowledge of, and you've got to be brave enough to attack sometimes, or know how to deal with it when it does happen, and not be like me and just scream. So yeah, so I gave the bus driver a bit of a fright, and I think when I go on a bus like that again, I've got to go backwards. But some buses lower better, and some buses are you don't get that same experience. Because I've been off the 144 before and I've not had that problem. I've landed in the hedge before because of the slope, but I've not. The wheelchair really skewed round to the left, and so did I. And anyway, it wasn't nice. So I get back home and like, Tom, I try and be independent, and it kicks me up the bum. I couldn't get on the bus, and then I couldn't get off the bus. Taxi, I suppose, but then it's going to cost me. I get a bus pass, so I apply for a bus pass. Don't use them very often, but I get a free bus pass, so why not use it? But I'm put off from using it now again, and it could cost me like just under 20 quid to get into Worcester and back. So next time, yeah. Anyway, and I had 3 drinks. I'll just tell you what I ate at all bar one. I had a French martini, which apparently is, Tom said bourbon, but this had got vodka in, I think, with citrus vodka. It says pineapple on the thing. Chambord raspberry liqueur. And that was quite nice, but I wasn't keen on the freeze-dried raspberries on top. And then I had a glass of wine, which wasn't part of their deal with the lunch menu, but Michelle bought it me anyway. Thank you, Michelle. And then I had the one that I really wanted, which was the apricot and almond sour. But it had a cherry on this time and not dried apricot, so I was a bit disappointed in that. I'm not moaning. And I had the chicken quesadilla, which I usually have when I'm in there, because it's part of their lunch deal. You get the lunch menu of this little box of, they list about 4 or 5 things, and you can have a lager or whatever, house wine, for an extra £1, which is, you know, this day and age is a bargain. But the wine that I wanted wasn't on there, and I didn't really want the Pinot Grigio, so Michelle ended up paying for it, which is a shame. So yes, I had an apricot and almond sour, and it's delicious. I've got to buy the ingredients. And by the time we left there, I went into Boots to get some toiletry medicine for Tom, and then I went, not medicine, but you know, and then down to the bus station, got on the bus, and then fell off the bus nearly. And I've slept all right since. I'm okay. I was dreading the week. I was looking forward to it so much, to seeing everybody, but I was dreading it in terms of activity. But I've proved I can do it. And I've had a really quiet weekend. So now I shall love you and leave you and go and upload this onto my laptop so I can do some editing. Maybe cut some of it out, probably not. And then I will hopefully see you in a couple of weeks' time. Thank you for bearing with me. We are now at 1 hour 14 minutes. Will anybody watch it? I've got a bit of backwards and forwards thing to cut out where I do dance around and go and get more stuff. But I haven't got much to cut out of this one. Thank you for joining me. I will see you soon. Take care and let me know what you're up to, because I like to know. Being nosy. Alright. Look after yourselves. Bye.